What's interesting about this year is, okay, well, they need O-line, they need D-line, but it's very possible that the best player available could be a running back or a tight end.
Right.
What do you do? What do you do if Ashton Jeanty's on the? How do you pronounce his name? Jeanty?
Yeah, Jeanty.
What do you do if he's available? What do you do if Tyler Warren's available? Niners have to have these conversations because it's possible if they're being true to their board, then the pick is Jeanty or it's Warren, even though they have a bigger need elsewhere. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So who's on top of the football world right now? I think it's that Detroit general manager, Brad Holmes.
And Howie Roseman.
And Howie Roseman's fantastic too. But Brad Holmes, I think, is the hottest GM in the game. I mean, Brian Branch and Panay Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, and then this year, Terrion Arnold and Rake Straw, and they just keep finding guys. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, they were criticized for those picks. The guy has
not
conviction.
Afraid to take a running back in round one.
They're not afraid to go against the grain and get why? Because they're simplifying the whole process and they're like, we just want great players. So get great players. So
and it's like even if CMC comes back and has a full recovery, how many more years is he going to be great for? Maybe he'll be great one more time. Maybe. Most likely not. It'd be nice to have the next guy, the next elite running back on your team. Because again, when are you going to be in a position to get a guy like this next?
Exactly. So at 11, I would say, if you're sitting there and, I'm looking at 11 on one of these mocks right now, they have Mason Graham falling to the Niners. Well, if that's the case, then you just take Mason Graham. I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. But they also have Jeanty going next to Dallas, and they have Luther Burden from Missouri, who's a great receiver, going 16, and they have Tyler Warren going 22 to the Chargers. So, I mean, Tyler Warren's a Pro Bowl tight end. And Jeanty is probably a Pro Bowl running back. In this draft, it's such a loaded draft for running backs that I wouldn't take the running back. I wouldn't take Jeanty there, but because it's such an incredible draft for running backs. But I would take Tyler Warren. I absolutely would. And if the wide receiver from Arizona. If somehow he fell to you, and in this draft they have him going 6 to the Raiders, T-Mac they call him, Teteroa McMillan. He is 6'4", 210 with 4.3 speed. So he is an unbelievable player. If he fell in your lap, yeah, that would be hard to pass up for sure. But I'm still thinking I would go probably defensive tackle or trade back and build up the defensive line. I think this is one of the most epic defensive line drafts I've seen. And if the 49ers wanted to build an incredible defensive line, they could do it in this draft.
What I want to say, though, real quick, is part of the reason the Niners have been so bad at drafting in round one with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch is that they generally don't take the best player available.
No,
they draft for need.
Yeah.
They take need.
No more need.
And it's like, okay, you've been doing that for 8 years. You've had some disastrous results. You have the 11th pick in the draft. You're not going to be here very much. Don't take the 20th player on your board at 11 because you have a need. That's what you always do, and it generally doesn't work out. What you should do is either take the best player available or trade down, man. If it's a tight end and you don't want to take a tight end in round one, then you got to trade down. Do that.
No question.
Trade up. Trade up. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple guys this weekend in the Senior Bowl. There's a defensive end / defensive tackle that's 6'6", 280 from LSU named Savion Jones, who just absolutely dominated this game. Now, he's an edge rusher, but in this All-Star game in the Senior Bowl, they put him inside, and he was beating guards with quickness and just absolutely wreaking havoc on the quarterbacks, and he's 6'6", 285. So, if he can play off the edge, I mean, that guy's really, really good. They just got to they got to upgrade their defensive line across the board. They don't put enough heat on the quarterback. To me, if there's one thing,
it's a 2-year prospect. It's a 2-year project too. Like the Rams, they have a great D line now. It was it was the 2023 draft and the 2024 draft, and hitting on 4 picks on day 2. Like the Niners need to do that.
No question. I mean, the 49ers have a second chance in this draft to see their original plan through to completion. I mean, the original plan was build a great defense around a deep, dominant defensive line. They had Bosa and Ford off the edges. They had Buckner and Armstead on the inside. They got really, really close, right? Really, really close. DJ Jones got hurt. They couldn't stop the run in the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl. They haven't been able to get it done. Now, this draft is full of elite defensive linemen who can dominate. And their current defensive line coming back is they have Bosa, Collins, Jordan Elliott, Leonard Floyd, Sam Aquinu, Gross Matos, and then question marks: Drake Jackson, Kalia Davis, Robert Beal, Evan Anderson. I shouldn't say he's a question mark, but Teron Jackson was picked up late in the year, Alex Barrett. And guys like Givens and Hargrave and Khalil Davis, they're the free agents. So, I mean, I think this is their opportunity to reshape their defensive line. Because Collins and Elliott are just guys, and Bosa's getting a little long in the tooth. Floyd is officially long in the tooth. The rest of that defensive line is totally replaceable and forgettable. This is an awesome defensive line draft, and there's all kinds of dudes. You name it. I mean, I can name guys up and down the draft that are going to be really, really good defensive linemen. So. To me, this is the year.
Like if you could get Mason Graham or Walter Nolan, great. Obviously, no brainer.
Yeah, those
great
guys
picks.
are. Walter Nolan is absolutely monster. 6'3", 305 pounds, and he's just a pass rusher, but he's also great against the run.
Those two guys would be great picks. If they're not available and you end up going D-end though, then just trade for Myles Garrett. I mean, if you're like, well, I think Mykel Williams could be the next Myles Garrett. No, he's not. And go get Myles Garrett.
Yeah, no, I don't like Mykel Williams. No, I agree. Yeah. In fact, the edge rush class is pretty thin, so it's not the same kind of group. So yeah, if you could trade for a Myles Garrett, then the question is just make it work on your cap. Make it work on your cap.